What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1, and we are going to give you our predictions for the Penn State Nittany Lions here in this video. Team that I had preseason, or not preseason, way too early, ranked number one. In the latest rankings that I did, I had Penn State right there at number one, and I do believe this is probably the best team in college football, or going to be the best team in college football this upcoming season. I think Texas, I mentioned this the other day, I think Texas probably has the most talented roster, but Penn State has a lot more experience. So that's going to be interesting if we potentially see those two teams clash in the playoff. That will be a great matchup. But yeah, let's talk about Penn State here. First, let's look back at predictions from the last 4 years. So this is how I predicted Penn State's season to go, and this is the actual result on the right. Going back to 2021, I picked them to go 9-3. They went 7-5. I thought that was going to kind of continue in 22. I had them at 7-5. They went 10-2, so that's kind of when they broke through. 10-2 again in 23, which is right where I picked them. And then last season, I had them at 10-2 again. They went 11-1. They were able to beat that prediction. So, you know, just historically looking at this Penn State team, I wouldn't say that I've been favorable or unfavorable for them. I know back in, I believe it was 2017, I picked this team to win the national championship, and they did not. But I think it was 2017. But anyways, let's get into the predictions. This is the schedule and just some of my thoughts, you know, breaking this team down a little bit more, and I'll just kind of quickly go through this. Obviously, Drew Aller at quarterback, probably I'd say top 5 quarterback returning. I think you can make an argument that he is the number 1 quarterback returning in college football. I think you can make an argument that this is the best running back room in college football. They've upgraded at wide receiver. You feel better there. The offensive line brings almost everyone back. You feel really good there. And then the defense should be solid across the board, especially in the secondary. I think this could be one of the best secondaries in all of college football. So yes, this Penn State team is loaded. They've got talent. They've got experience. And that's why I do believe that they are one of the front runners to win the national championship. So you get to the schedule here, first 3 games, easy wins. Don't really see any problem there. And this is a pretty pathetic non-conference schedule. Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. I mean, we can do better than this. This is pretty bad. Now, I don't know. I'm not a scheduling expert. I don't know if Penn State maybe had an Oregon or a UCLA or something on the schedule and it got moved off when they joined the Big Ten. I know that happened with, I believe it was Michigan. So I don't know the full story here, but however it came to be, the facts are the facts. This is a terrible non-conference schedule, not even playing a single Power 5 or Power 4 team. And then, you know, talking about Nevada and FIU, you're not even playing, one of the top group of 5 teams. So this is a very easy non-conference schedule. But then we'll get into the conference schedule. This first one, a big game against Oregon, September 27th after the bye week. That's where they're going to open up Big Ten conference play. This will obviously be a huge game. I saw a great game between these two teams in the Big Ten championship game last year. You look at this Oregon team; they're talented. Their roster is loaded with talent. Maybe not the experience that Penn State has. I think Penn State definitely has an advantage there. I think Penn State's probably a little bit better team here. Plus, they're playing at home, so you feel pretty good about picking Penn State in this game. I think what it really comes down to is just Dante Moore. I don't trust him to come on the road into Penn State and be able to win a game like this. I think that's going to be too much for him. I think Penn State wins this game, and I feel pretty confident in this prediction. So yes, one of the big games that I'm more confident in. I do believe Penn State will beat Oregon at home. So that gets them to 4-0. Then it's a road game against UCLA. This one could be a little bit tricky. UCLA is a team that, they should be a little bit better. I think they're a sneaky team. I don't think they're going to be great, but I don't think they're going to be awful. Plus, this game is on the road. You got to travel out west right after playing Oregon. And we saw last year, how many times did we see where teams that traveled across 2 time zones or more, they lost. They were upsets all the time. I don't remember the exact numbers, but this is absolutely a trap game, an upset alert game for Penn State. I think because of the veterans on this team, they will be able to get through it, but I think it'll be close. I think you'll be flipping through the games and you'll see this score pop up halftime. UCLA's maybe up by a field goal or something, and it'll get your attention. It'll be one of those types of games, but kind of like the game last year for Penn State against who was it now? A team out of the MAC. I can't remember the team, but I think this will be close, but I think Penn State will find a way to get it done late in the fourth quarter. So I'm going with a win there, gets them to 5-0. Then you've got Northwestern October 11th. This is a sneaky team. This is a veteran team. I think they could be pretty good this year, actually. I'll go ahead and give you a prediction here right now. Northwestern will upset someone. They will knock off a top 25, maybe a top 15 team. I really think they have the pieces to do that. And maybe it's this game, but maybe not. I just, being at home for Penn State, you feel like it is tricky because it's in between two road games. Again, I think this is another one that probably stays close into the second half, but I think Penn State's able to get it done. I'm going to give them a win there over Northwestern. Then you've got the road game against Iowa, October 18th. Iowa, they feel like maybe they're going to actually have an offense this year. Like they might have a little bit of a passing game. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but I like the addition of Mark Gronowski at quarterback. I think he's going to do pretty well for them. Receivers should be decent. So, yeah, this will be a better offense, but I think it's kind of the back end of Iowa's defense. I think their defensive line is going to be strong, but you look at the linebackers in the secondary, I don't think it'll be a typical Iowa defense from that perspective, and I don't think they're going to be able to slow down this Penn State offense. I think that's going to be the problem here. I think Penn State will be able to run. I think they'll be able to throw. And, again, unless Iowa's defensive line can really dominate in this game, and who knows, they're playing at home. Maybe they play really, really well. Unless that happens, I don't really see them having a chance. I think Penn State probably wins this one by 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range. Then they get a bye week before playing Ohio State. Huge game, obviously, on the road. Penn State hasn't seemed to be able to win this game. I think it was like 2019, or it was before COVID, the last time Penn State's beaten Ohio State. So this is obviously going to be a huge game, a huge challenge. Ohio State, Penn State, when you look at how these teams match up, I think Penn State does have an advantage, especially in the trenches. I think they're going to be a little bit better there. You're going to have a young quarterback for Ohio State versus a veteran quarterback in Drew Aller. So I absolutely think Penn State could be the time they pull this one off. But the game's in Columbus. James Franklin, for whatever reason, I don't know if I'm going to pick him to win this game. So, like I said, if this game was on a neutral field, I'd probably take Penn State, and maybe we'll see this game again on a neutral field in perhaps the Big Ten Championship or even the College Football Playoff. But for this particular matchup, I'm going to go Buckeyes. I think Ohio State finds a way to get it done. It's just one of those gut feelings. I think Ohio State's going to win this one. Then you got Indiana November 8th. This one should be a really good one. I think Indiana's going to be good again. I don't know if they'll make the playoff, but I think they'll be a top 25 team, perhaps in the playoff. Again, I don't know. I haven't made all my predictions yet, but I think they're capable. I think you look at the roster, this is going to be a good team again, and we know Kirk Cignetti's a great coach. So this one will not be easy, especially coming off of that tough loss against Ohio State. I do think that Penn State's front seven, though, is going to be a little too much for this Indiana offensive line. I believe it was the Ohio State game last year where we kind of saw that. I think it's going to kind of be a repeat here. I think they'll get after the quarterback. They'll shut the run game down, and Penn State's defense will be the difference in this one. Pretty close game, though. I think it'll be competitive, but at the end of the day, Penn State, I think, gets the win. Then you've got Michigan State on the road, November 15th. Don't think this is going to be a very good team. I think they, I like the coach. I think that maybe they're going to be headed in the right direction. But when I evaluate this roster for this year, I just don't see it. I think Penn State much better. I think they win easily in this one. Then you got Nebraska November 22nd. This could actually be a huge game. When you look at Nebraska's schedule, they could come into this game with maybe just one loss, maybe two losses. It's very possible. So this could be like a top 10, top 15 showdown. And I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I think Nebraska, they've got the pieces to be pretty good this year. I look at look for a weakness on this team. Maybe it's that defensive line. Maybe that's an advantage for Penn State up front. I don't know that Nebraska is going to be super explosive on offense. I think they'll be solid. I just think this will be a good team. But I think Penn State's just a notch above them. I think they're just a little bit better. They're playing at home. I think Penn State's going to get this one. So I think they beat Nebraska in a competitive game. Or maybe it's one of those games where Nebraska gets exposed and Penn State goes out there and they blow them out, because Nebraska does have a pretty favorable schedule leading up to this point. So that's going to be a fun one. We'll see what happens, but I think Penn State will win regardless. Then you've got Rutgers November 29th, a team that should be, they'll be decent. They've got a somewhat veteran team. It's on the road, but I mean, they're just not going to be good enough to compete with Penn State, in my opinion. I think Penn State will win this one, and I think they get to 11-1. So that's my prediction. Same record as last year. And I think if you go back to that first graphic I showed you, I think that I've predicted them to have the same record that they had the year before, like the last 4 years. So that's not been the case for all the teams that I predict, but it's just kind of worked out that way for Penn State. And I think that's what's going to happen here. 10-2, I guess, is possible, but who would they lose to? I think it would have to be like an upset to UCLA or Northwestern, something like that. Like I said, I feel pretty good about them beating Oregon at home coming off of a bye week. So, yeah, I feel pretty good about 11-1. I think 10-2 is possible. 12-0, I think, is possible. If you ask me 12-0 or 10-2, which one is more likely, I'd probably go 12-0. So that's how high I am on this Penn State team. We'll see how far do I have them going in the playoff. Do I have them winning the Big Ten Championship? Of course, those predictions will be coming down the road. But give me your predictions for Penn State down in the comments below.